Today is going to be a special day where we bring to you one of the most influential boxing coaches that really has put a beautiful bright light on the game. And this is the direction that we are all trying to go in as boxing coaches. So you're going to really enjoy having the opportunity from and a bird's eye view of what it looks like and a little bit of the behind the scenes of how this young man has taken boxing and put the right kind of light on it, and that you're going to learn something from these mindsets in boxing that we've been trying to shed light on ever since I've started this thing. I've always looked for those shining lights, and today you get to see one. And but before we get going, I'd like to introduce myself. My name is Eric A. Bradley. For those of you who've never watched this channel, shame on you. And boy, you're late to the dance. This is Think Bigger, where we make sure that we find the brightest lights that are in their industries and shed light on them and give you guys the opportunity to really pierce your minds and expand the way that you think on a day-to-day basis. So the premise of this show is to truly give you encouragement that you can do anything that you set your mind to. And this is all brought to you by our sponsors, Jab Juice Consultants, where someone has to take the privilege and put an eye on the combat world and help them move their careers along as well. And so with that consultant agency, it's all about grabbing you by the hand and walking you into this age of AI and social media and kind of showing you how this thing works one step at a time, taking things off a bite at a time so that you can grow just like the regular businesses in this country over a course of time. So with that being said, I like to introduce a great individual, my man, Joey Ferrara. Welcome to Think Bigger, my brother.
Coach Eric, thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.
The privilege is mine, and I could not wait to bring you in and give you. I was going to say expose you. I must be thinking about
we
friends
just
in
might.
Ghana.
Who knows, right? We just might.
No, but to share and shed light on the individuals that are in the sport that for me, I knew that I would say one day that I said I would grow an audience and share the people who are doing it right. And obviously, most people would think, you're doing your thing, I'm doing my thing. Why would we cross paths and why would we help each other? One thing that people don't realize is all wealthy people team up. All people who are
Rising
doing
tides
it right.
raise all
That's
ships.
why it moves equally. Like it's 8 billion people on the planet. Like there's no way that we cross. We build together and unify and build, and the growth happens exponentially instead of minuscule. So when I came across your stuff, and I just want people to know that I typically can't find anyone directly that's in our industry. I just recently had Andre Durrell. I've had Dia Davis, Dustin Poirier's coach. I've had several other guys that are in our industry doing this thing, but you're doing it solely on fitness. And I love the fact that in this minutia of everybody wanting to work with fighters, you're working with fitness people. And I want to take it all the way back. I want you to tell the story on how this thing began and what was your motivation. We'll go one question at a time, but I want people just to see just how sweet you work. That's just maneuvering right there. People,
thank you, Coach.
if I'm gonna go get my fitness on, I want it to look like that. The place looks amazing. Start from the beginning, brother. What was your motivation and what brought you to this point to do it only with people who are not fighters? I love that.
Thank you. Let me start with how I got into boxing. When I was young, I was kind of a troubled kid. I turned to drugs and alcohol at a young age, and I was looking for kind of a new start on life. So I was 20 years old. I stumbled into the local boxing gym, which was the Howard Davis Boxing Gym in Glen Cove, New York.
Hold it. You went to Howard Davis?
So ultimately, it was named after Howard Davis Jr. who we
Oh
all
my
know
God.
passed away. I also would speak to senior once in a while, would show up to the gym. It was a police athletic league. Didn't cost any money. None of us had any, right? You know,
Hmm.
we didn't have money to pay trainers. We didn't even have money for gym fees. We were sharing
Yep.
equipment. We were sharing mouthpieces sometimes, Eric. It was wild.
Wow.
So,
Wow.
you had Howard Davis Sr. would pop in there, Howard Davis Jr., being from that area. Buddy McGirt would train in our area. It was a great time.
Yeah.
So I really walked in just to stay out of trouble. And the head boxing coach over there, Frank Pena, asked me, he said, "Do you want to fight?" I said, "Yeah, I want to fight. Sure." So about 3 weeks into boxing, he said, "All right, we're going to find out if this sport is for you." Anybody who's boxed before knows what that means. That means you're about to go up against somebody better than you, right? And you're going to get your ass kicked,
Yeah.
right? And we're going to see
Yeah.
how you take it.
Oh,
Anyway, I
good.
wound up getting my butt kicked in the first round. I was basically looking out of my ear hole, of the headgear. I had no idea where I was, what was going on. And in the second round, I was able to hold my own and then actually take control of that round. Busted the
Oh,
kid's face open. He had about a year experience. He had about 40 pounds on me. And my coach looked at me, and there I am. I have the kid's blood all over me, and I'm kind of shaking, like like a tiger that's ready to take down his prey. And
yeah.
he said, "This sport is for you. This is good." So it's funny. I got into boxing in a very real competitive aspect, in the way of
Yeah.
training 3 hours a day, 6 days a week, not counting running. Running was separate.
Yeah.
That was at 5 a.m. I fought the
Yeah.
Metros, the New York State Metros, 3 months after I ever walked into a boxing gym. I was already competing in tournaments. So I
Wow.
came from that aspect, but teaching professionals was nothing I ever wanted to do.
Yeah.
So I struggled. I struggled for a while in and out of the gym. I would
Yeah.
get in trouble. I would get arrested. And then I would, when I came back to the gym, I would clean myself up for a little while, and then I would fall
Yeah.
off again. So I was working for a family business, and I decided that I wanted to try something different. So at the end, I'll get into this a little bit later, but at the
Yeah.
end of my 9.5 hour shift at a warehouse, I would start training people in my backyard, friends, people in the neighborhood that wanted to learn boxing.
Hmm.
I saw how much that helped people in my area that were having a hard time, everyday life, fitness,
Yeah.
finding consistency in their training, whatever it was. So when I started
Hmm.
training these people, I saw how much I could touch their lives. And then I decided to make it a full-time gig.
Wow. So how long ago? When was that? What year was that?
That was in 2010, which is also when I had my
Wow.
last amateur fight.
Oh man. Wow. And you know how your story is so similar to the guy who comes into the gym, and he really does have potential, and the coach sees it, and then your work ethic. But that audit, that day that we all dread, is that day that you have to get in the ring with a guy that has more experience than you. But then you overcame that moment too. And I know
That's right.
that for your coach was like, whoa, you don't get those guys that overcome that moment. I mean, like 100% of the time, you could just say you can count on this being the worst day of that guy's life. Yeah, like it always turns out bad. So for you to hold your own against someone with a year experience, and for those of
Mhm.
you who don't understand that, if you've never been into the boxing gym, let's this is how we're going to preface this. We'll table this conversation just like this. Imagine being born and finally learning how to crawl, and then you have to race against someone that's a year older than you. You get what I'm saying?
That's
Like
right.
that's the
Absolutely.
likelihood. Yeah, that's the likelihood of you really being able to compete with someone with a year experience over you at the beginning. Now,
That's right.
over time, that could peter out based on your talent, maybe size or attributes, but you can't overcome that. So your coach definitely saw something really, really interesting and unique in you. And it's so funny. And then I'm going to ask you this question. But the world is so small because Howard Davis Senior's son was is Dustin Poirier's coach, and he's a friend of mine, and I've had him up here several times,
Mhm.
and also Buddy McGirt was on the show, so it was just really small world. You mentioned both of those guys, and like I
Mhm.
said, I do the pickup litter in the boxing game, the industry, like-minded people. So your story is unique, and as you have moved this pillar forward, at what point in time did you decide that you would not really work with fighters?
Yeah.
and that
So
you were
ultimately,
just going to solely work with regular everyday people.
that moment happened. What I did was when I actually became a trainer and started working at a gym. I started at Equinox. I'm also a personal trainer on top of a pad holder. So I
Yeah,
started Equinox. I was there for about 2 years. Then UFC gym was opening in New Hyde Park, Long Island, which is just before you get to Queens. And
yeah,
it was about a 20,000 square foot location. The place had not been
okay,
finished yet. There was an enrollment center. They called me
hmm,
in for a practical, which is ultimately like, hey, come in, put somebody through some circuit training, hold pads for
yeah,
one of our guys, and we'll let you know whether you have the job or not. So I asked them, I said, all right, well, who am I holding pads for? They said, one of our sales guys. I said, no, you got to tell me, is he a beginner or is he a fighter, right? I need to know where the lesson starts. Am I teaching this guy to throw a jab, or are we working, more experienced concepts, right? Like, give me a little bit of background, right? They said,
hmm,
he's a professional UFC fighter. I said, okay. I was like, no problem. So we basically hit pads for about 20 minutes after we're standing in a pile of our own sweat. Guy, Chris C. Murdercope, his name was. He puts his hand on my
hmm.
chest, his glove on my chest, and he says, you're hired. I'll make sure of it. Meanwhile, he had no authority to hire me. He's just saying, I'm going to
Wow.
make sure I let the bosses know.
Yeah,
And
because
I
he
wound
wants
up
that work.
becoming that's right. So I wound up
Yeah.
training him for one of his fights that was outside the UFC. And I
Hmm,
was working with him, and I got my USA boxing license as a coach. I wanted to
hmm.
coach fighters. I had a friend, Rodney, who's the head of the Muay Thai department at UFC Gym, Crew Rodney. Crew Rodney
Okay.
had a fight camp called Blade Fist. That was his team.
Okay.
So I would be their second corner man. So I
Okay.
have helped corner a guy named Ian Hastings, 5-time amateur champion, NJ Mack, Cody Payne.
Hmm.
I've cornered people at Madison Square Garden, Eric. Not many
Wow.
people know this because I don't throw it out there like that.
Nah. Yeah.
However, I started to realize ultimately I'm a family man. I have a son that's 17 years old that I have
Yeah.
custody of. I have a 3-year-old now. But at the time, my son was 6. And I said, feeding him, making sure he has the best opportunity, things like that,
Yeah.
really, it means more to me than just clout. And
Yeah.
while these fighters, you know how it is, they jump around from
Yeah.
coach to coach a lot of
Yes.
times. There's real
Yeah.
no loyalty or anything like that. And there's a ton of time that goes into going to sparring sessions, going to fighting events, things like that. That really takes away from your family. I wasn't willing to do that.
Yeah.
So that plus training a bunch of everyday people and seeing how boxing uplifted their life, how
Yeah.
much it meant to them. Ultimately,
Yeah.
it made sense. I was getting handsomely rewarded for it. They were getting a skill set and an endorphin rush that they would never have been able to have if they never put on a pair of gloves.
Well, you know how you say that, and this is what it is. There's so many of the coaches that want to just work with fighters who
That's
who,
right.
who don't have any experience, but they want to work with fighters. And I'm saying, do you understand? Change the world first. And those speckle of fighters that you'll eventually get, it'll be because of the way you work with people. It's not because of your total overall cachet, because that UFC fighter knew that the minute he put in work with you, that was the kind of work he wanted. And you already understood him. The thing about it is you have to mold yourself now to really change the community by giving them an opportunity to do that too. And
That's
there's many
absolutely right.
more of those. So I appreciate you for choosing that, because that other thing will come. Fighters will find you because you're good at what you do, not chasing fighters to work with them. You have to realize that what you were doing really seriously. And I don't say this to sound super religious, but you're doing God's work, because this is not for clout. And I just love the fact that you've done it without needing all of that affirmation. And that's important. Now, see, I have to let people know my level of experience, because they see me and they think I'm a trainer. I'm in my mid 50s and I'm not out here doing that anymore. But I have to say, I did this. So if I tell you I've been in the game for 4 decades working with world champions, it's not for clout. It's to let you know I'm not in my 30s doing this stuff. And this is not who I am. That's why I saw you. And I just love watching you work. I love your demeanor, your posture. You just look comfortable. And I would send my daughter to you, I because you just look like you care about what you're doing. And that's what matters most out here. So thank you for that. Tell me this though. What is a hurdle that, as a coach who's chosen this route, that you've run into, that a lot of coaches out here are currently running into, not understanding that that also comes with the game? When you think back over, the course of your career, what are some things that are really hard to overcome, but you still have to find a way to get over them?
I think that some of the hardest things to overcome is the that there are other coaches, and while this doesn't bother me that much, I know it's an issue in the space of
Yeah.
boxing.
Yeah.
There are coaches that train fighters, right? Then there are coaches that train everyday people. There are
Mhm.
pad holders for fitness that don't know much about boxing. There
Correct.
are people that know a ton about boxing that suck at holding pads. No offense to them. You know what I
Well,
mean? We
yeah.
don't all have the same capability, right? Like
Yeah.
there's a space for everybody. I think again, like the person that doesn't know about boxing that wants to go ahead and train fighters, or the
Mhm.
person that trains fighters that judges the person for fitness, right?
Correct.
Is a
Yeah.
hurdle, understanding that we're in different spaces. Like,
Yeah.
I think that people who I know who are good boxing coaches that I follow and stuff like that, that will comment not necessarily on my own post, but like a real fitness person that's never really boxed before. They're trying to help people. They're out here trying to maybe put an instruction on Instagram. They're trying to help the beginner boxer know more than they did
Yeah.
yesterday, right?
Yes.
And ultimately, I think some of these boxing coaches out here on social media are reluctant to understand the difference, that those people aren't trying to take your job and vice versa, right?
Correct.
They're just trying to do what they can to the best of their ability. And I think that's one of the hurdles is being understood and appreciated to an extent in the space that if you see on my Instagram, it says, I train everyday people. I don't train fighters.
Let
Right
me
off.
let
Go
me
ahead.
I'm going to give this to the people in terms of layman's terms. He looks so good doing what he does. Trainers who are working with fighters are threatened that he's going to take their fighter. Because I'm sure he's being humble about saying that, but the reality is that because anyone who knows their craft, when you have someone in front of you that knows their craft, you know that those people are categories of one. They're not a commodity. They're everyone that's working out here with people have not mastered it, and you are a master of what you're doing, and
Thank you.
that's the difference. So fighters recognize it. Trainers are threatened by it because out of every single person that I've seen, and I've seen maybe 2 or 3 million people try to do it, you're in a category. We could all wear the same hat. The category is so small. You can put the hat on. I can put my hat on. You can put it's 3 heads probably in
That's
there that
correct.
I've looked at and said that guy's the real deal. That guy's the real deal. And so that's what you have to deal with. But when it comes down to your social media, how do you use the social media? Has it benefited your business that comes in, the influx of people or the
So
opportunities to work with people?
It's a funny question because so many people would say absolutely yes. As my social grew, my business got stronger, right? I've been a referral business where I haven't had to
Yeah.
look for a client since
Yeah.
like 2015.
Yeah.
2016. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm 9 years with JSF Fitness Inc. as an S
Yeah.
corp,
Yeah.
and I'm about 8 years never really having to look for a client. So really, honestly, social media, while it was cool because I got a bunch of brand deals, so I work with Everlast once in a while, I work with Hit
Yeah.
and Move once in a while, I work
Yeah.
with a company called Elite Living and Health, and I'm one of their
Yeah.
affiliates.
Yeah.
Another supplement company that I work with and different things like that. So that has broadened my horizons there.
Yeah.
But social media, and at the risk of sounding arrogant, I'm going to say I think it's helped my viewers more than it's helped me.
Yeah. For
So
sure.
honestly, it's actually a little sad because I have so many people reaching out to me since my following blew up. I
Yeah.
don't even have time to get back to them all.
Yeah.
And if I do, it's usually no, my schedule's full. No,
You
my
can't.
schedule's
You
full.
can't. No. You are next level. All
Thank
right.
you.
And I'm going to tell you this is also a backhand too. It's a pop pop. You're great. And here's the backhand because I challenge my coaches. I challenge myself. When you are called upon, that's your beacon. That's your moment to serve it higher. So now that's a part of your business because you're putting it out there. So you got to allow people to have that moment where they have some form of something of you. Don't you? I feel a way because we have thousands of messages weekly. We had to get people on our feed to help moderators and stuff.
Yes, sir.
When it comes down to that, how do you solve that problem? What do you give them that they can have a piece of you? Because you're putting the work. You can't expect people not to want some of that smoke. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yes,
what do
sir.
you got to give them an opportunity. How do you solve that problem?
Well, I think what it is I have a meeting tomorrow with an online coach where I could potentially start making modules, beginner videos, and things like that I could offer to the masses for a very reasonable price, right? Something
Yeah.
like that. I'm not looking to get rich.
Yeah.
I'm married. My wife does well. I do well. We're kind of low maintenance people. We're
Yeah.
not somebody that needs a mansion or anything. Of course, we
Yeah.
have drives and things like that
Okay.
things that we want to accomplish, but ultimately what I started doing is I started having my son, who knows me better than anything, he's 17.
Yeah.
I hired him and he does a lot of my video work, my
Okay.
editing,
He
things
does a
like
good
that.
job.
That's right. So what I'll do is sometimes we'll sit at a table. He'll have his phone. He'll be logged into my YouTube. He'll read me the comments and I'll tell him
Okay.
how to answer and stuff like that. So
That's
I'm getting
good.
my family time and interacting with my audience as
That's
well.
beautiful. That's good. That's it. The connection. And I encourage our guys, connect with your people. It's bigger than just you and your gym. It's if you have a page and you go out there and you put your stuff out there, it's called cause and effect. When you do something, it's going to have an effect. It's going to create an impulse. It's going to create a reaction. Be ready for the reaction. That's all the responsibility is. That's all the responsibility is to do it, because you're doing some things that a lot of coaches could pick up some tips from. And so I encourage people to watch your page and to look and see just how refined you operate, and that's doing so much for the game, and that's why people want to follow you. He has over 100,000 on one platform on IG, over 100,000 on like YouTube, TikTok, crushing it. That's because you're doing it from a different space. And
Passion.
so, yeah, so I'm going to challenge you to serve higher with that, because there's not as many of you as you might think, because you see all these people, where you rank, but the people who are looking at you, they want to be able to have more of you, just a little bit, not your wife's time or your kids' time, but just that time that they know that they can connect. And I know my audience, I try to go live some point of the day every day now, because I'm serving higher. It's not more convenient for my life, but I put myself out here and they respond. And I said, okay, let me serve a little bit higher. So
Yeah, there's
with
a
that being said,
responsibility there.
it's definitely there. But you know what? I asked for it, and guess what? If just say, for instance, if I say you got something available or you're going to be doing something, I can go and come up here and say to them, hey, my man Joey's got something going on. You guys, you know what I'm saying? So that,
Absolutely, Eric.
yeah. So this is one of the reasons I bring you on. I want to ask you, how many of these have you done before?
This is my first. I've been asked to do about like 50 different podcasts. I've never gone live ever
Yeah.
on any platform, not on somebody else's page, not on my page, and I've never done a podcast.
Wow.
When you guys reached out, I was like, this is the one that starts it. I was like,
Yeah.
this is this is the first one that I'm going to do.
Wow.
I watched a lot of your stuff. I love the
Good.
way you spoke. I love how you talk about that higher purpose and different things like that.
Yeah.
And that speaks to me, because I am here to try and
Yeah.
paint a positive picture in what could sometimes be known as a sharky, shady sport, from so many people.
Yeah.
And, I think this sport gets a bad rap, but it's growing in popularity.
Yes.
And I think there's enough people that are interested in boxing to where so many of us can do well in this space, giving the people what they want for a reasonable price.
Wow, you're right. You're absolutely right. And I think right now that I right now, I think you probably do know, but I don't know to what abundance that there are coaches that are wanted to just work with fighters that they didn't have anyone that was out there that looked credible, that wasn't working with fighters but looked credible enough to work with fighters. And I think you'll encourage those guys because there's so many guys that think you can only be a great, cool, awesome trainer if you are working with Mike Tyson, because that's kind of what it looks like. These guys who want to work with the fighters and walk down the aisle with those guys. I did that. I'm like, it's not
Mm.
that awesome. It's awesome. I ain't gonna say it's not awesome,
Sure.
but it's so much more awesome stuff. I've had some of the best times just with people at the big box gyms, and then I had a studio like yours, and then we back in another big gym, and it's always good. I never regretted one day that I had to go to the gym. Never regretted one day that I had to go to the gym.
I love
And I
that.
see that in your work. I see that in your work. I,
Absolutely. And Eric, I think it's so rewarding to take somebody that's never thrown a punch, never
mhm.
put on a boxing glove,
Oh yeah.
and make them look, even on the pads. I know what everybody says. Anybody could look good on the pads. First of all, that's inaccurate. Some unathletic people out there, it is what it is, right? The person that does 1 day a week, 1 hour a week, right?
Yeah.
And they stay and they stick at it for 6 months, a year, 2 years, even though, so I counted in hours. They'll say, I've been working with you for 2 years. And I'm like, no, you've been working with me for, if it's a
A
year,
day.
52 hours, 52
Yeah.
hours you've been
Yeah.
working with me, right?
Yeah.
If you showed up every single week.
Yeah.
Right. So
Yeah.
being able to take somebody that's never put on a glove, doesn't know anything about the sport, and getting them to look pretty crispy on the pads is something that I love. It really means
Yeah.
something to me, opposed to the person that learned how to fight, from seven other guys is already fantastic. Then comes
Yeah.
to you and you put up that pad work video, and all you did was really catch some punches.
Oh,
You know
you
what I mean?
did. Catch.
You know, I got
Yeah.
a guy that I work with that's got a UFC fight coming up. I work with him twice a week. His name's Charlie the Cannibal Campbell. He's
Okay.
in his second fight under his UFC contract. And I see him
Awesome.
every Tuesday and Friday. He's
Wow.
fighting April 6th in Vegas, right? In his second fight
Yeah.
for the UFC. And I don't take credit for anything he does. I'm just a guy crazy enough to hold pads for him, right? He's a violent dude. So like,
Yeah.
but I give all the credit to the coaches he worked with that
Yeah.
got him looking like that. All I
Yeah.
do is provide him a space to train to make
Yeah.
sure he can get some additional pad work leading up to these fights.
Well,
But
that's a
it's
beautiful thing that you did. I
oh,
mean,
and I love it, and we become good friends. It's just I take a little bit more pride, and he knows that I would say this also. I
mhm.
take a little bit more pride in the person that came to me and said, "I'm depressed. My boyfriend just
Yeah.
broke up with me. My
Yeah.
wife just left me. Whatever it
Yeah.
is, I need something in my life. I need some sort of change, some sort of uplifting
Yeah.
hobby that's going to help get me out of this rut." And if I can help that person
Yeah.
not just get out of their mental funk, but
Yeah.
also get good at the sport, it
Yeah.
makes me feel that much more rewarded.
Yeah. You're purpose driven. That's
That's
a
right.
purpose. You guys, that's how
Absolutely.
you get there. You see, it's all about realizing what you're doing it for. And then when you understand what you truly do it for, there is no working day. It's all a blessing. And that is what it looks like. That's what it sounds like. That's what made me so motivated. That's why I wrote so much, because all those experiences were so great. Now it was grueling because I also had to work with fighters. I didn't have the luxury to escape. My coach wasn't going to let me escape. That would be
Right,
like
right,
if
right,
you
right.
work under your coach and he was working with a whole bunch of fighters at that time, like you would have had to work with them. So
That's right.
I couldn't escape, but to serve the purpose, and then all the blessing stuff, it'll come, and you'll get to pick and choose what you do. And I love that you've gotten and worked with companies, because I tell these guys all the time, these companies need people like you guys so that they could, kind of further their brand and build, and that helps everybody. So I appreciate you doing that too, because a
Eric,
lot
it's
of
right.
coaches don't. Go ahead.
I say rising tides raise all ships, right? Within the industry, whether that's within boxing, whether that's within podcasting, collaborations, getting together with people, being a little bit more uplifting and a little less judgy, I think is so. I've never left one negative comment on anybody's social media post ever. And there's some funky stuff out there, right? I have never ever done that. Even if I see something, right? So like I think there's enough negativity in the sport. Guy didn't pivot on his foot. Guy dropped his hands. And I try and say to my friends and my clients will say, oh, somebody commented and say, I dropped my hand before I throw a hook. I go, look at your favorite fighter's favorite fighter, hit pads, and he drops his fucking hands too. I mean, sorry for cursing. I curse a lot. I can't help it. I've been holding it in.
You're in New York. Come on. I get it.
Yeah, and Italian. We can't help it.
Come on. We're in the sport world.
That's right.
You're right. You hit the nail on the head. You can't expect. I'm like, so, these guys who fight don't make mistakes. Like you guys, it's no perfect fighter. And when I say no perfect fighter, every fighter has a horrible time in the ring all the time. It's just those few minutes that they do enough to win fights. You can't measure a guy on mistakes. Boxing is not something we were born to do. It's not a natural human ability. It's not something that you're born out, like you came out your womb like that. It's not something that have to be taught. Discipline, composure, and then you have to develop muscle memory. That's a lifetime thing. That's not something that I don't care if you're 22 years old. Every fighter that's fighting, I tell you, I make all the mistakes all the time. It's just who can catch me. That's the thing.
That's right.
Yeah, but you know what? Small minds talk about people. Large minds talk about ideas.
That's right.
That's the bottom line. You don't have to, you don't have to go back and forth with people and prove a point because you're proving.
Never have.
Go ahead.
No, you please.
No, I was going to ask you at this point in time now that you've seen, such prosperity and in what you're doing, what is your real think bigger now? Like, what is that next boom? And what is your legacy? What's that thing bigger this chapter?
That is a phenomenal question. I can't wait to answer this. So what I started doing is I've done one episode of it so far. I'm filming my second on Saturday, and I plan on making this global, right? Okay. So ultimately what I started was a YouTube series called Coach Joey's Gym Tours. And what I do is I go to local boxing gyms. I talk to the coach. We tour the gym. They talk about the program. They talk about the gym. And then they put me through a small workout at the end, right? Kind of an idea of what they do. So my goal is to once a month highlight a different gym in Long Island, New York to start. Then I'd like to go see some of my buddies like Kevin Gleason out in Florida. So Onward Nation actually invited me out to Atlanta to go tour their gym, which was pretty cool, right? Yeah, that was incredible. So we're eventually going to grow it globally. I have a lot of people that reach out to me from Scotland, Ireland, all over the place, the Middle East, all over. And you know what it is I would love to go and visit and collaborate with people in different countries, in different states, and be able to bring some sort of promotion, advertisement, whatever you want to call it, attention to their gym. I think that the everyday people that I train, I'm here in my garage right now. So I train one-on-one. Nobody has to worry about, do I look foolish? Is somebody watching me? And I think so many people feel that way and they're timid or nervous about walking into a boxing gym. And the goal is to show, look, these coaches are just people. Watch my page and you'll see how they interact. You'll see the passion when they talk about their gym and why they chose certain heavy bags or what this particular ring is for or what things are. And it makes them a little more comfortable with people that I can train, feel a little bit more comfortable walking into a competitive boxing gym. And we keep more of these boxing gyms in business. And I think it's better for the sport.
Oh my gosh, you're getting a ton of love. We got my man Chad. He's like, man, everybody, everybody's seen Coach from Aussie, Coach Harabber, all the guys showing you so much love, giving you the 100% emoji. Like,
appreciate
that, man. You're talking some good stuff. And I'm here to be a pillar for that. I'm here to, you know, point me as you may want to, and utilize my audience as well for your guys coming up and these things that you got going, because what you're doing brings so much value to the sport. And I did, you know, tour gyms and show people what's at the gym and talk to the owners, and you're taking it that next step. You're getting into the workout and let them take you through the test, and you know you're gonna get taken to. So
That's right.
you know,
That's right.
that's gonna be a beautiful hook. Put the beginning end at the beginning for like 10 seconds. You throw up bucket.
Yes. And now let me tell you, Eric, I spend about $1,000 per episode, and I don't ask anything of the boxing gym.
Yeah.
It's all my investment, because the thing is like you said, a higher purpose. Ultimately, I'm giving back to the sport right now.
Yes, you are.
The sport of boxing. So I'm giving back to these individual business owners, these small business owners who are phenomenal people, and they deserve to have their business not only stay in business, but to flourish, right? So why would I ask anything of them? This is my project, right? I said, this is my project. I'm going to come. I'm going to paint your gym, with the exact brushstrokes that you want to explain it in. I said, it's going to be my expense. I'm going to go ahead and pay for it. I'm going to have my video guy edit it. And this is just to give back to the sport and small businesses in the area.
Yeah, you are, man. That contribution doesn't go unnoted, because it's over and then beyond the call of duty. So you're just not going, you're putting your own money, and that's where a network want to pick that up.
Yeah, and that's that's ultimately the ultimate goal. That would be fantastic. I saw there's a guy, an actor, Frank Grillo. You know who he is?
Know the name. Sounds
he was in the Avengers. He was in that show Kingdom that was on HBO.
Yeah. Oh, I love Kingdom. Oh my.
Right. He trains a Fortune boxing gym out in LA. So me and Frank follow each other, and I saw him on Netflix, and he was like in Thailand. Talking to them about like their style of fighting. And then he went somewhere else. And I think it was about 5 episodes on Netflix. And that's where I got the idea. So shout out to Frank Grillo, and Netflix. But that's where I got the idea. And I said, let me go ahead and do this on a local level so I can feel like I'm actually kind of giving back to the sport and the community.
So here's the deal. So working with a lot of movie guys, I wish Jake was on the show today. He's out in Cali. He's a movie guy, and he's from a royal Hollywood family. But thing is, those guys would say, write a treatment, and that's basically what you said, but put it down in detail on paper. Don't let it be longer than a page, and then you'll have it whenever you are in front of someone who is of influence in that industry, the Netflix world, the Amazon Prime, because see, that's what they're looking for.
That's right. And you know what they say, success happens when opportunity meets preparedness.
Preparation. So just have write it out, just like from beginning to the end, and make sure that it basically just makes sense. And people don't understand how simple it is to make something happen that appears big, but it takes the same amount of steps to do something big than it does to do something small. That's why the name of this show is Think Bigger, because it takes the same amount of energy to make $1 million than it does to take $10,000.
I agree. Just a little more perseverance and persistence.
Well, it's just about so if I want to make, I'm gonna give an example. If I want to make $20,000, I'll take $1,000 and I'll put it in the stock market. I'll flip it. Or if I want to do that, I'll buy something, like, just say, for instance, I'll record a video. And if I said I want to do $20,000, I'll record a video, boom, put the video up, $50. I just did 2,000 sales on a $67 product. You do the math.
Yeah.
It took 48 hours. Okay. If I want, but see, that's what people won't do. But guess how long it took me? 2 hours. So, but somebody else is going to go work at the local Dick's Sporting Goods for a year and a half, and they're going to make the same amount of money or less. See, it does only take what you choose to do with that time. I
Yeah.
chose to give something of value and introduce it to the market that I've built. Yeah, I purchased the cameras and the lights and the videographers, if necessary, or the editors or
Yes, sir.
whatever. But when it's all said and done, I did it in 48 hours.
Right,
So,
exactly. You still got that rest of the year and a half to continue.
so
Yeah.
this is what we call the 51.5 week vacation.
That's right. I
I,
love that.
I do podcasts, I do skits on video on our pages. I do it. I tell people they watch, but they choose to go back to work for 12 hours, 16 hours a day. And I'm just saying, well, okay, well, you can think it's fiction. I'm going to the beach.
That's right, Eric.
Have a nice day.
Exactly. I
And
always
I'll
say
go.
I
No,
work from 6 a.m. Monday
yeah,
through Friday till
yeah.
2 p.m. I don't train nighttime clients. I'm done by 2 p.m.
Well, see, you've earned that,
Done for the day. And
Yeah,
that's doing about 35 to 40 hour sessions
yeah,
that I charge over $100 for.
yeah. And it should be easily.
You
That's
know,
beautiful. I want you to
uh,
come down here, and I want us to go over here to Boxer.
I would love to.
When you come down to Florida, we're gonna go over to Boxer and just do something that's somewhere that is like everybody's like, whoa, this is awesome, and it kind of mirrors the way your gym already looks. But
I would love that.
yeah,
What part of Florida are you in?
I'm down here in Palm Beach, down by Miami, and
Nice. I used to live in Tampa for about 5 years. I actually,
West Side.
yeah, I fought a smoker over there against a guy named Ricky Thompson, who he wound up fighting pro for a little while. He fought Saddam Ali, got knocked out. That's neither here nor there. But I went to Tampa. I was getting in some trouble in New York. I shot over to Tampa and wound up finding boxing again when I was there. No matter where I went, I wound up picking it up. And then also, I love to link up with Kevin Gleason down there in South Florida.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, he's a phenomenal guy. I've been over there twice. He gave me this shirt, actually. He sent it back to New York with a client that we kind of share who hops around once in a while.
No way.
Yeah,
No
so
way.
I'm actually planning on going down and maybe potentially touring his gym as well. We could make it a thing. I could come see you and maybe spend a week down in South Florida.
You don't
I
come
would
to
love that.
you don't come down to Florida and don't come to see Master Box.
That's right. Now I'm definitely going to see Master Box. I'm also going to be in Miami for only a couple hours on the 24th because me and my wife are taking a cruise out of there to Mexico.
Oh, yeah, that's going to be awesome.
Yes, we're flying into Miami. I'll only be there for a couple hours. Maybe a quick drink and a bite to eat, and we're gone.
Yeah. Well, if you're gonna fly into Miami or Fort Lauderdale.
But we're going to fly. We're actually sailing out of Miami. We're flying into Miami from New York, and then we're sailing right out of the port of Miami.
Oh, man. All right. You might bump into Rick Ross right there. That's the port.
I'll take it. That's my guy right there. I love it. When I lived in Tampa, I just kept Rick Ross's album in my old Buick, and I just kept it in the Buick always. Yeah, man.
Too good, man. Look, man. Well, look, this has been great. I am so motivated, and I know that you've encouraged so many people by jumping on, and I know this isn't something you've done before, but you're putting yourself out there. So in so many ways, you are serving higher. So I can appreciate that, and thank you for allowing us be the one to kick your career off out here doing it in the podcast world. I appreciate you, brother. Anything you want to say to the audience before you slide out of here?
Eric, man, first of all, I just want to say thank you so much. You're a gentleman, and it's a pleasure speaking with you and obviously talking boxing, talking business, just talking, people in general. And definitely, if there's one message I could get out, guys, go to YouTube, be on the search and the lookout for Coach Joey's Gym Tours. That's going to be big. It's not just to support me. It's to support these boxing gyms, support the sport itself, and support small businesses.
Oh, we will put it out there. Here's your YouTube channel right here at the bottom of the screen. And this thing will be chopped up into reels, so you'll get to see this a multitude of times. Look, Coach, until next time, continue blessings. And we look forward to supporting your journey. And we'll be in contact with you via email, and we'll connect again, man. And I look forward to seeing you soon in the winner's circle. Be blessed.
Coach, I look forward to it. Take care. Stay blessed.
Absolutely, my man. Peace. All right, guys. So this was a beautiful opportunity to see what the game of boxing looked like when you're doing it a different way. And it's just so encouraging when you see people who have brought their purpose with them. That's what it looks like. It's not confusing. So I encourage you all to really take liberty and go out here with both feet and don't think small. This is all about thinking bigger, and that is allowing nothing to prevent you from doing what your purpose says you're here to do. And when you feel that vibration come off of that young man, what you're finding is what it looks like when you've reached your highest good. And look, he's about to burst the seams through the ceiling, and that's what it'll look like. So whether you are actively in the world of combat or if you are wanting to help people, this is kind of what my encouragement is to help people, and the rest will happen. Because if people see you helping like that, then you're going to be encouraged, because you're going to help people. And that's what people see. They see that over everything. So this is empowering, because the way that you go out here and you operate, and I want you to hear this, whether you're on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, use that opportunity. Turn on your phone. And like he said, this is his first opportunity doing, or not opportunity, but time, because it's based on the person that he felt aligned with his mission. You can control the narrative on you. Now, with that being said, I got a couple of seconds that I wanted to share with you, because there's some things happening in the world of social media right now that will impact a lot of people. So I don't know if you've heard, but Congress went to, they had meetings yesterday, and this is what has come of TikTok is on rocky road right now. So
okay, House passes bill that could see TikTok banned in the US. Let's kind of go through a couple of these things here. Robin, I think you have a video for this as well, right? The House of Representatives has passed a bill that could pave the way for TikTok to be banned in the U.S. app stores. Both Democrats and
now, when I heard that at first, I got the message through TikTok. I got the message. I was like, went to just check the page. I got several accounts over there. So and it was like, boom, this big red, black and red notification, like, support TikTok, call now, call your local, your government. I'm like, huh? I don't even know you like that. It, like, you want me to, like, it was literally last minute. They were trying to pull out all the stops. And on the next clip, I'm going to show you what actually ended up happening on this thing. You'll be surprised how the power can just, one day everything is going in your favor, and then the next day it's like, boom, the rug comes from beneath your feet. And this happened immediately after the fact. Hopefully this thing will pop up. It's acting like it's struggling, but this was the other clip that broke down exactly what hold up one second. It's struggling. But the other clip basically shared how there was going to literally, it was a 50-0 vote to take the power of what we know as TikTok away. Literally 50-0 was the vote. I mean, you can't make that up. That's where you have to have reserves. You have to have a backup plan. But being that this is TikTok, everyone saw that the powers that be really had a problem with it. Now, the bottom line is, it's not trying to get rid of TikTok. What it's trying to do is get new owners. They want it to be purchased. So maybe Jeff Bezos, Amazon, will purchase it. They just don't want it controlled. And so there's just a lot going on. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the link in the description after the podcast, and you guys can go and check it out really good conversation, so in depth, so much detail, but as big as a power that you see TikTok being, you always, every time you hear it, you think, oh, this is just talk, but it's real. They, when it goes to legislation and they drop the hammer, they won't control. But there's so much more that you'll learn on that conversation, and it's going to open your eyes. So no matter what's going on in your life, I don't think you can get by thinking small. And I'm not trying to correlate the conversation based on the title of this show. What I'm truly trying to tell you is when hard times come, be prepared. And the way you're prepared is to think and expand your mind so that no matter what happens, you're always standing with 2 feet up under your hips, and that you have a posture and balance and base, just like when you're throwing the jab. It's real. So be prepared. Don't allow yourself to go through life operating on that small seed. I want you to stand on the mountaintop because you have the same capability as the man next to you. So take liberty to allow yourself to be wide, expand big, and stand up tall, but bend your knees and sit down in your stance so that the rug can't be pulled from up under you. This is episode 4 of Think Bigger. And with that being said, you guys, like I said before, continue to support our great trainers who are out here doing good things for the sport. And we continue to send great energy to you guys all who are contributing to the sport of combat, boxing at large, and are running businesses. And we're here to help you guys elevate day by day. We will stay consistent, and we'll be by your side until the end of this thing. That's all I got for right now, Coach Bradley. I'm signing out. Until next time, stay focused, stay locked in, and continue to think bigger. Our sponsor is jabjuice.com, helping you guys guide you, just like your guiding star, your guiding light, to that promised land so that it won't be as complicated as you think it is. So hopefully you got something from this that'll change the direction that you were thinking. Until next time, be blessed at Godspeed. Coach Bradley, and I'm out. Peace.